Hey everybody, welcome back to the Super Rock Boy video cast, where we talk about comics, anime, games, movies, TV, and any other kind of geeky stuff. ElRockBoi, what's going on, home nugget?
Man, I am excited. I'm feeling good. After spending, what is it, 6 hours watching Justice League. So
That's some
I can say I
dedication.
feel like a new person by that whole experience. But, I'm better for it, though. I can definitely say that. And
Folks,
how
I
you been
want you to
feeling?
understand the degree of dedication that Elroy has for you, that he actually went and watched 6 to 7 hours worth of Justice League just for you.
I mean, you know, what I would say is this, right? I stayed away from the movie in 2017 when it first came out because when I saw the trailers on TV, I didn't know how to approach the movie because of my experience with the DC animated universe of movies, right? That they had. And I love them,
Mhm.
right? Justice League War, all these, like, so great when it comes to the actors, voice actors, the characters, the storytelling, and seeing the trailers on the TV. uh, Seeing, for example, Cyborg, right? Very different from the what is it, the comics or the animated series. But now that I've gotten a chance to see it and experience and take in all of its tones, it was time spent, right? Well spent, maybe a stretch, but it was time spent. And I don't I wouldn't say I would take it back, but I think it was worth me experiencing this, right? Because whether it was Josh Whedon or Zack Snyder, the creativity was there, right? You could see what someone did with a lot and what someone did with their little bit. But yeah,
Mm.
what you think?
Man. So I did not rewatch the previous one. And by the way, just get this out the way. I am a Superman fan. That's why I'm wearing the shirt.
Mhm.
And yes, those are Marvel posters behind me. No bias here. I will always be that dude. I know everybody's like Wakanda forever, and I'm like, nah, Superman is still that dude. Superman's still my guy. So anyway,
Superman
having
is a
said
cheat
all
code,
that,
though. Superman is a cheat code until you bring some kryptonite.
see, the thing about Superman is that his value is not. Let me get on my platform here. Superman's value is not in his powers. It is in his use as a foil for a person with absolute power who can't solve his problems with his absolute power. Superman has and I won't pontificate for long here, but Superman has all the ability to do anything, but he has to live by a standard, or at least he chooses to, which makes it more powerful. He lives by a standard that you and I could only hope to live up to, right? Even though we actually have to live by that standard. We're human. We can, we can't break the law and get away with it generally. There's caveats. But,
Yes.
we can't break the law and get away with it. We can't take over the world as much as we may, jokingly say something like that, right? Superman can do any of this stuff, and he subscribes to ethical, moral, principle, norms, whatever you want to call it, values better than we can. And yet he's not as corrupted absolutely by the absolute power. And that's what gives the stories value if he's written the right way. Problem is he's not always written the right way, especially when it comes to video games. The video games kind of get it wrong too, But Superman's value is in all that. Anyway, I said all that to say I was on a soapbox. I said all that to say I'm looking forward to talking about this, and I have a lot to say. And like yourself, I was a huge fan of the Justice League cartoon, DC animated universe, especially how they brought them all together, going from the Superman animated series, or sorry, technically the Batman animated series
Hmm.
back on Fox, to the Superman animated series on WB after the Batman series also came over to WB,
Hmm.
and then how that blew up into the world of Justice League
Hmm.
when it in Justice League Unlimited when it went to the Cartoon Network. So I am fully ready to talk about this movie. And yeah, I really want to hear your thoughts because I went into Justice League, sorry, Zack Snyder's Justice League to differentiate it from Joss Whedon's Justice League,
Mm-hmm.
which is not really fair. Zack Snyder had some part in the first one,
Mm-hmm.
but uh, I went into it cold because I didn't want to automatically put this next movie on a pedestal compared to the previous one, because the previous one would have retainted
Mm.
my feelings on it. I already knew how I felt about it. I didn't need a reminder, right? Kind of feeling. So
Mm.
yeah, man, I'm looking forward to this discussion.
For me,
So
I watched them the next day, right? So back to back. And
mhm,
I wouldn't say the Josh Whedon movie tainted me. It was a nice, let's say, excerpt, right? A nice
mm,
slice of what this movie could be. Because when I first saw, the 2017 Justice League movie, I said, okay, I'm gonna embrace this. I'm not going to be harsh or take my ideals or the thoughts I had in 2017 when I was like, I'm not seeing this, right? Sitting there watching it, 2 hours felt short. Because a lot of
okay.
people complain about how movies are it's too long, superhero movies. I can't do the 2 hour, but it felt short, and
Mm,
you could tell with some gaps and jumps and stuff. And I get it, whether it's TV or movies, you got to kind of put on that sense of disbelief hat, right? You're like, oh, they know how to
right.
do this, or they've seen
Yeah.
that, or this happened and we didn't need to see it. And then when I watched the Zack Snyder version of Justice League, it was gr- great in the sense that 4 hours versus 2 hours, a lot of the gaps get filled and more. When I mean and more, there's a lot, there's a lot and more. And I think people need to understand that like it's not just worth watching the 27 movie and not revisiting this movie. It's hands down, in my opinion, worth seeing
Hmm.
so that you can reset, right?
Mm.
Because Josh Whedon was more like a trailer for the Zack Snyder movie. Yeah, that's kind of
It's a heck of a long trailer.
no, but truly, man, like I sat there and I was just like, huh, this was definitely a tease, but a misunderstood tease, right? Because you
Mm.
you experience the first movie and then you go to this the Zack Snyder movie now and you're like,
Mm.
uh, am I in the same place? I'm like, what this? But it's nice though because there's familiar elements, and again, there's elements that you hadn't seen at all, and things
Mm.
go in so many different directions that you wouldn't have ever thought of, and it's enlightening, right? And things happen in different orders, which is very insightful as well. So that it was quite a movie, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, it certainly was, and I I agree with you that the movie was too short in that, and we know this from having watched, the Justice League cartoon when it brought all those animated series together, plus
Mhm,
the other characters into the Justice League cartoon proper, right? It was a multi-part. I can't remember how many parts. I probably should have looked it up,
mhm,
but it wasn't like something that was just over and done. Well, for the purpose of a cartoon, it could be over and done in maybe a couple hours. For
mhm,
the purpose of a movie, especially a cinematic universe that had barely been started,
mhm,
right at the time, 2 hours or 2.5 hours, wherever the runtime was certainly very brief, right?
mhm.
Now, I'm not necessarily of the opinion that everybody needed to have a solo movie like they did with the Avengers, pretty much, right? I'm actually cool with the idea of you bringing in Aquaman and the Flash, introducing them in the movie itself, and then letting them be fleshed out in other movies. I think that was overall an okay idea. How it was maybe handled, or some of the backstory. I guess technically they were introduced in Batman versus Superman first rather than
Mhm,
Justice League, but I thought that was an okay idea. I think for me, the Joss Whedon version, if we want to call it that, it it, it didn't seem like it was trying to do justice to the Justice League itself and their formation and the gravitas of what was happening, as much as it felt like he was trying to inject some of that in Avengers magic, if you want to call it that. I'm not sure if magic is the right word. To the movie, or some of that what's the word I'm looking for? Cheesy is not the right word, but some of that certain je ne sais quoi that Joss Whedon has in all this stuff, right? Whether it be, you know, Buffy or if it was Firefly, or whatever. It's just a certain degree of, um, kind of cheese is the only word I can come up with. But so if you look at the scene, like when Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman and Flash fall down and Flash falls into her bosom, right? Like that kind of stuff, right? Like that's not kind of stuff that you needed to see in the movie, and certainly not after they went out of their way to really build up Wonder Woman, right? In Batman versus Superman, it kind of undermined all that, and it's like Joss Whedon, for better or for worse, and for his talents and skills, he does have the ability to do this whole team dynamic thing to create situations where people will either be in comedic situations or bond or whatever it is, or kind of have all that stuff going on. But it's almost like he was sacrificing some of the gravitas of these DC characters for that kind of Marvel style interaction, which even Marvel wouldn't do something like what happened with Flash and Wonder Woman. But the characters in the DC world are more like, gods among people, more so than people among people with superpowers. And so it wasn't probably the right fit, and that's probably why Zack Snyder's version, other than just having a longer runtime and fleshing out things even more, Zack Snyder's version and Zack Snyder's vision kind of fits a bit better because he plays up that gods among people kind of motif more so than Joss Whedon would have. And so we'll probably get a little bit more into that in our spoiler version of this. So definitely this would be non-spoiler. We're trying to keep it non-spoiler as best as we can. That will be in the next video.
So,
So yeah, man.
so I'll say this, right?
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to watching this movie, you kind of can't compare it to Marvel, right? You don't want to go
Hmm.
there. You just want to be like,
Right.
I'm embracing the DC extended universe, and this is what I'm experiencing right now. And then you just
For
kind of
sure.
keep it contained in the sense that, like you said, Batman v Superman. You want to keep it in and around those movies because
For sure.
watching the 2017 movie, right, and
Hmm.
seeing how all the elements came together, and then the 2021 movie, which there's a lot of similarities. Yes, the characters are the same to some degree,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
one of the things that I said to myself is I love and love and love animated movies, and they can be watched by a range of people, young, old,
Hmm.
and you could kind of feel that the 2017 movie was pretty much geared toward kids, right? And Batman v Superman definitely
Hmm.
was not geared to. I mean,
Right.
it had the right ratings and everything like that, but you could tell it was
Hmm.
mature in some degree.
Yeah.
And the 2017 Justice League was mature, but it 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 really s- touched on a lot of what people think about costume superheroes, and they're goofy, and they're these
Hmm.
different things, which is all fine, great descriptions of these movies, but it's all worth it for the 2021. Forget the 4 hours. Because for me, one of the things I'll say is this: I was so open minded, right? And I'm not too sensitive about movie durations and stuff like that. But 4 hours sounds like a lot, right? Would you sit there and watch a 4 hours, Les Miserables or something like that, right? You probably would say no,
No,
right?
never. Not at all.
But as I sat there and I watched that movie, like I didn't really feel it. I was just like, okay, I'm taking it in. Oh wow, this is happening. And I think it was too being familiar with the first one, the 2017 version. So I was like, oh, okay, oh, we're here, or this is not here. But also, they also broke the movie up in parts, right? For the 2021
Hmm.
version, right? Part one, part two, part.
Hmm.
So that was kind of neat to see. It wasn't necessarily necessary, but it really helped us transition and experience all of the different tones that Zack
Hmm.
Snyder had as a just a leading force in the movie's creation.
Right, right.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I certainly wasn't trying to compare Marvel to DC, but I was comparing the fact that they brought in Joss Whedon
Mhm.
because he had the same magic with Avengers to their first ensemble movie, which was
Mhm.
kind of their hope when they brought him in to finish the movie, right? Was to be able to pull off that same magic. Yeah, from a new scene standpoint, um, Uh, I found some of the new scenes, especially the ones that helped fleshed out some of the characters, like maybe Flash, some of the additional scenes with Batman, that kind of thing. I felt like it helped humanize, which I know sounds weird talking about these characters as gods, but I felt like it humanized the characters a little bit more, gave
Mm-hmm.
you a little bit more relationship, right? I felt like Batman was a little bit more of a hopeful person, than he probably had been in JL1, JL Prime,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and then also Batman versus Superman, and I thought the additions for Flash and the additions from some other characters that we'll talk about in the spoiler review.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a nice touch. I did have my misgivings because it felt like more of that. In some ways, it was not only the let's help these characters, be fleshed out more. Let's help the story be fleshed out more. It was also a little bit more of let's help set up the universe more and kind of really make it seem like there needs to be a 2 and a 3. And it's like, man, we can't even tell which way it's up with you all over
Mm-hmm.
there at Warner Brothers, man. You sound like you want to kill this universe, like you want to keep it. You can't tell. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, guys, don't get us all excited only just to let us down. Um,
And
so yeah, go ahead.
so what I'll say is this, and this isn't a spoiler because it's in the trailers and everything, right? When Ryan Reynolds was Green Lantern,
Mm-hmm,
that suit, man, that suit had me. And
mm-hmm.
I said when I saw Cyborg, I was like, man, it did it again. It did it again. And I think that was definitely one of the moments that I said, I can't do this. I'm afraid.
Yeah,
Because I think something as simple as a costume, and I get it, the creative expression, the imaginativeness of the suits or the things that they wear, but yeah, it's one of those things. But when you talked about, you said Justice League Prime, also, you know, DC has, different Earths, different universe, all these, and he's like, these two movies happen in different time periods. Like, this was like, Earth One, and this was Earth Two, like, you know, and that's okay too. You know what I mean? Like,
mm-hmm.
the 27 movie could happen and not really happen. And if we go
Yeah,
with the Zack Snyder one as the dominant actual state of events, I am
yeah,
completely fine with that. Right? Which
yeah,
means see the movie, experience. Or, and here's the thing, if people are afraid of the 4-hour timeline, just watch it in chunks, right? They have it in parts for a reason. So you could be like, I'm gonna spend my 1 hour today, and then tomorrow I'll do my second hour. Yeah.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
enjoyable.
Okay. I'm in agreement. I think from an assessment standpoint that it's worth watching, right? It's you're if you are a if you're a comic book fan, you'll have problems with that. I mean, obviously, if you're a comic book fan, you're going to be, well, pushing out my glasses, and you're going to, have something to say about anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, there were some things that did kind of like really drive me nuts from a more of an editing, cinematic standpoint. We'll get to those. Um, you know, being a fan of Superman and especially Man of Steel. I liked the movie. Some people said they didn't like it. I don't understand. I thought it was probably one of the best Superman treatments we've seen.
Superman killing?
Um,
No. Next.
no, sir. See, here's the thing. Superman did that, but I felt like that was the way of creating the whole "I can't kill people" thing because I did it that one time and I knew I wasn't supposed to do it. But the movie, when I talk about Man of Steel, it's more about capturing that sense of what it is like to be Superman, and you're punching someone and they're going through a building, and it's like something out of Dragon Ball Z,
Mm-hmm.
because that's really what it's like.
Yeah.
It's like zooming effects, and you're virtually instant transmissioning over to the other person because you're so fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I don't think anyone had really captured that feeling of Superman before. And I liked the whole awakening process and the whole theme of one day they'll join you in the sun.
Mm-hmm.
That part is still in the movie. That shouldn't hopefully be a spoiler because it was already in the first Justice League movie,
Mm-hmm.
or first in the Man of Steel. But that Russell Crowe's character will repeat that and to Superman. And so I feel like that was great. My thing is, I see so many people on the internet who are talking about this movie like it is the best thing ever, like it's better than Avengers Endgame and all that good stuff. And this is where I kind of draw the line. That's why I say I agree with you, right? it needs to be seen. It needs to flesh out the story. It's enjoyable, like you said, break it up in chunks. I like the additions for the most part. I like the fact they tried to flesh things out.
Mhm.
But I feel like it's one of those movies where, as much as it's hyped, as much as the internet asked for it, if you go in with lowered expectations, it's going to be a better movie than if you go in with hype, in my opinion. If you go in with hype, I feel like you're possibly going to be disappointed. But if you go in with the expectations of, hey, it can't be any worse than Justice League, it's just going to be great, right? And you're going to be like, oh, wow, I can't believe this, right?
Mhm.
So I don't know. Go ahead, man.
Okay. I agree with you to some degree in the sense that the movie is solid, right? Is it a 10 out of 10?
Mm-hmm.
No, right? One movie is 10
Mm-hmm.
out of 10, but it's of
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man movies. But but for me, one of the things I would say is this. Henry Cavill is a great actor. Great actor. I love
Mm-hmm.
watching him in The Witcher, right? And he's appeared in other movies as well. But as Superman, he's done the role justice in my mind, right?
Mm-hmm. Same.
So
I agree.
I can say yes. Man of Steel enjoyed that, right? And then we started, like you said, expanding to the Ben Affleck Batman, and we have Wonder Woman and Flash and Cyborg and whoever else shows up. And my thing is just that I think team is the biggest factor when it comes to Justice League, right? Them being all independent players, there is no, what is it, shield, right? To really kind of help
Mm-hmm.
ground them and keep them focused, and, the only other person that's not super powered is Alfred, but Alfred isn't, Nick Fury. Right? So
He might as well be.
no spoilers, Corey. But so it's such a different dynamic, and I always go back to DC versus Marvel in the sense that DC can feel more mature, and I think there's nothing wrong with being mature. And I get that we want to make things, especially when it comes to movies, super broad or appeal to a wide audience, but I really don't want to see us lose who these characters are. And I get too that the creative freedom that studios or comic book publishers or whatnot allow these movies to make, right? Because there's so many movies that you and I could talk about that is nothing like the source material, nothing like the source material, and it's shell shocking.
For sure.
And I,
Yeah.
I would love to see how the response was to that thing being retold. Look at Sonic, right? Source material had him a certain way, and then somebody decided we're gonna do him like this. Look like a wolf or a
Yeah.
rat mixed together. And you're like, nope, what is this creature? You know what I mean? So I think I think people who make movies need to be careful when they come to making things that have a really rich history that are beloved
Mm-hmm.
by others. And Justice League is one of those. And I think Joss Whedon walked a fine line with it, and Zack Snyder just kind of took it and ran a marathon, which I have no problem accepting.
Yeah. Yeah. No, man. I totally agree. It's, to me, it's okay to deviate from the source material, as long as it's consistent within the world, right? And we'll get into that in a second, because I got a couple of scenes where I like, this don't make any sense, right? But because I hate it when people do that thing where, for example, if you take Iron Man 3,
Mhm.
and Tony Stark was having trouble, and everybody's like, well, where are the Avengers? How can they come help him? And it's like, they got their own stuff to do. It's like,
Yeah.
not, they can't be there all the time. And it's kind of the same thing with Justice League, right? I'm not always that guy who's like, well, why didn't they just do this thing? It's like, well, because it's not necessarily the exact same, first off, to the source material, and two, it's okay to have different interpretations, and three, you gotta let characters have their own thing going on the side. Like, this is not how things work in real life, right? Not everyone is always around you at the
Mhm.
same time when things happen to you, right? Sometimes you
Yeah.
gotta go on your own adventure, solve your own problem. Sometimes
Or
you
you
need a
don't want to be
little team.
bothered.
Exactly. Sometimes there's Superhuman 581 and there's ElRockBoi, and sometimes there's SuperRockBoi, right? It's like,
Yep.
it happens.
Mhm.
Oh man.
100%. Because here's the thing too, right? You talk about the source material, you talk about the history.
Hmm.
Justice League was originally introduced in the comics in 1960. right? That's a
Right.
long time. And since then, it's been so many iterations. So much to
Sure.
pull from. And of course, we haven't been alive that long, but
Hmm.
it's so interesting when we see the interpretations, like you talked about, of these movies and these characters that we are familiar with, right? Superman couldn't be just a brooding, non-speaking person, or just like there's a certain aspect of a character that we're looking for. And again,
Hmm.
I think with some of these movies, they dial up certain pieces to fill gaps, right? Movies need
Yeah.
that serious person, movies need that
Yeah.
that quiet person, or that macho
Hmm.
guy, or that comedic
Hmm.
element. And
Hmm.
it's fine, but don't make it to the detriment of the characters. And I think
Right.
with Justice League, there's really a lot of dimensions, right? Because it's a number of characters, different backgrounds, represent so
Hmm.
many different things, and then they have to
Hmm.
play together and off of
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something I think they actually did pretty well in the movie. Everybody's got their specific disposition
Mhm.
that helps build the team dynamic. So all right, man. So we're in agreement that it's a solid movie. You should definitely see it. Make the time. It's enjoyable. Any other thoughts before we get out of here and we get into spoiler territory?
No, I definitely agree with you. I definitely think it's enjoyable. I think it's watchable, right? Would I watch it a second time? Maybe. Not
Okay.
all 4 hours together, probably in bits and pieces.
Yeah, I'm the same way. If this had came out in the movie theater somehow, if WB had approved this to come out in the theaters
Mhm.
with a 4 hour runtime, I would have seen it once, and that would have been it.
Y
You couldn't have drugged me back to seeing it a second time.
you know what? I think if if this movie came out in theaters, how
Hmm.
certain theaters like Regal, Cinemark, and others, they do
Hmm.
marathons, right?
Yeah.
Especially when, like, I think Avengers was coming out, they had, Avengers 1, 2, Iron Man 3, blah blah blah. And I think with this movie, they could have potentially done that, because there's a lot of gaps that it would have filled, especially with the 2017 movie with the shorter runtime, because of course, reflecting on both movies 2 and 4, things had to be cut, right?
Hmm.
By watching Batman v Superman, you would have gotten some of those gaps filled. And I think that would have helped a lot of people as they watch, the 2 hour version. I mean, of course, the
Yeah.
4 hour version may not need the Batman v Superman, but again, I think that's how it would have been a better positioning of it, especially because I
Hmm.
think I read an article today that was talking about, Zack Snyder was saying they're potentially going to release the movie in theaters, right?
Hmm.
So it's not just going to be on HBO Max. It's going to make it across, big screen. So folks might get to see it again.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if they're willing to see it again. Uh, oh
Mhm.
man. All right, man. Good chatting with you. We're going to slide into our spoiler review soon. But hey, thanks for watching the Super Rock Boy video cast. We appreciate you joining us today to talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League and it's phenomenal runtime. Don't forget to like, comment,
Mhm.
subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we'll see you all in the next episode. And in fact, you should probably stick around and click that little video thing that's right there in the middle right there, and go straight on to the spoiler review. See ya.
Awesome.